Racing Bulls have just completed their first shakedown of the 2026 car at Imola. And let me tell you, it wasn't exactly smooth sailing. The team ran into some unexpected drama that has everyone talking. So, let's break down what happened, what we learned, and what this means for the season ahead. The V-Carb 3, as they're calling it, hit the track in Imola. For those who don't know, this circuit is literally 15 kilometers from the team's factory in Faenza. So, they didn't have to go far for this first test. The conditions were far from ideal though. It was cold, it was wet, and the team had to run on full wet demonstration tires throughout the session. Liam Lawson got the honor of taking the car out first. He completed an installation lap around lunchtime, and everything seemed to be going according to plan. But then came the moment that got everyone's attention. Arvid Lindblad, the 18-year-old rookie who's making his Formula One debut this season, took over from Lawson for his turn in the car. And, well, things didn't go quite as planned. Lindblad lost control at the Villeneuve chicane and ended up in the gravel trap. The car had to be recovered by a truck. Now, before anyone starts making judgments, let's put this into perspective. This is a brand new car with completely new regulations. The conditions were terrible: wet track, cold temperatures, demonstration tires that aren't designed for performance. And Lindblad is an 18-year-old who's never driven a 2026 spec Formula One car before. Honestly, a spin in these circumstances isn't exactly shocking. The good news is that the car appears to have escaped without significant damage. So, this isn't a disaster by any means. It's just one of those things that happens during testing. Now, let's talk about what we actually saw from the car itself, because there's some interesting stuff to discuss here. The V-Carb 3 was running in the livery that was unveiled at the Detroit launch event with Ford. And one thing that immediately stands out is the airbox. It's massive, like noticeably bigger than what we've seen from other teams. This has sparked some speculation about whether Red Bull powertrains might be dealing with some thermal issues that require extra cooling. Or maybe it's just a design choice. We don't know for certain yet. The car also marks a historic moment for Red Bull powertrains. This is the first time their engine has actually run on a racetrack. They've been developing this power unit for years, and now it's finally out there doing laps. Speaking of engines, let's talk about the sound. The 2026 regulations have changed the power unit significantly. The MGUH is gone. The MGUK now produces 3 times more power. The cars are running on 100% sustainable fuel. All of this affects how the engines sound. Fan reactions have been completely divided. Some people are loving the new sound. They're saying it's more aggressive, more raw, more like what Formula One should sound like. Now, let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture here. Racing Bulls is in an interesting position for 2026. They're running the Red Bull Ford power unit, which means they benefit from whatever advantages Red Bull Powertrains has developed. And as we've discussed in previous videos, there's been a lot of talk about certain engine manufacturers finding loopholes in the regulations that give them extra power. The team also has a fascinating driver lineup. Liam Lawson has proven himself capable of competing at the front of the midfield. He's quick, he's aggressive, and he's got that Red Bull mentality. Arvid Lindblad is the wild card. At 18 years old, he's got his whole career ahead of him. But here's the question: can Lindblad handle the pressure of Formula One? Today's spin was a minor incident, but the scrutiny on rookies in this sport is intense. Every mistake gets analyzed, every crash gets replayed, every bad result gets questioned. That's the reality of being a Formula One driver. Team boss Alain Permanet has already warned Lindblad that his debut season will be difficult. He's not setting unrealistic expectations. The goal is to learn, to develop, and to show flashes of potential. Nobody expects him to be fighting for wins right away. Looking ahead, Racing Bulls has their next major test at the Barcelona preseason event. That's when we'll really start to see where everyone stands. The shakedown at Imola was just about checking systems, making sure everything works, and getting the drivers comfortable. Barcelona is where the real work begins. What we saw at Imola was promising despite the spin. The car ran, the engine worked, and the team got valuable data. Yes, Lindblad ended up in the gravel. But that's testing. That's what it's for. Better to make mistakes now than in Melbourne. The relationship between Racing Bulls and Red Bull Racing is going to be fascinating to watch this year. They're running the same power unit. They share technology and resources, but they're also competitors on track. In previous years, Racing Bulls was clearly the junior team. They existed to develop drivers for the main Red Bull squad. But with the new regulations resetting everything, could we see Racing Bulls actually challenge their sister team? Customer teams sometimes outperform the works team when regulations change. Considering Red Bull's past struggles, it would not be that shocking if Racing Bulls, by betting on a more conservative approach, actually performs better than the main team. It would be wild, and it would raise the morale of the drivers and everyone involved in the team. For Lindblad specifically, this experience will be valuable. Yes, he spun. Yes, it's embarrassing to end up in the gravel on your first proper run in the car, but he'll learn from it. The best drivers in Formula One history have all had moments like this early in their careers. What matters is how you respond. If he comes back tomorrow, puts in clean laps, and shows that the spin hasn't affected his confidence, that tells us everything we need to know about his mentality. Formula One is as much a mental challenge as a physical one. The drivers who succeed are the ones who can shake off mistakes and keep pushing forward. The 2026 season is almost here, and I cannot wait to see how it all unfolds. One more thing worth mentioning: the fact that Racing Bulls chose to do their shakedown at Imola rather than Barcelona or Bahrain shows confidence. They wanted to run close to home, where their engineers could easily access the factory if something went wrong. That's smart thinking for a first shakedown. And despite the Lindblad spin, the day was largely successful. They got the car running, they gathered initial data, and they identified no major issues. That's exactly what you want from a shakedown. Tomorrow's filming day will give them much more running time to really understand the car's behavior. The 2026 season is shaping up to be one of the most unpredictable in recent memory. New regulations, new power units, new teams, new drivers. Nobody really knows who's going to be competitive and who's going to struggle. Racing Bulls could be a dark horse. They could also be fighting at the back. We simply don't know yet. But that uncertainty is what makes this so exciting. Every shakedown, every test, every piece of information we get adds another piece to the puzzle. And today, we got our first look at the Racing Bulls puzzle piece. Yes, it's embarrassing to end up in the gravel on your first proper run in the car, but he'll learn from it. The best drivers in Formula One history have all had moments like this early in their careers. What matters is how you respond. If he comes back tomorrow, puts in clean laps, and shows that the spin hasn't affected his confidence, that tells us everything we need to know about his mentality. Formula One is as much a mental challenge as a physical one. The drivers who succeed are the ones who can shake off mistakes and keep pushing forward. Alright, that's everything for this one. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of our 2026 coverage. A lot more coming as the season approaches. Until next time,